It appears that both a Russian general and an admiral have been taken out over the last few hours. This is our first of three big stories, well, actually five big stories today. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context for you in the war in Ukraine. All right, so let's get started here and talk about this. There was a car bombing assassination that just occurred in Moscow, and reports are saying that a senior FSB general was taken out. We're not 100% sure about this one, so take this with a grain of salt. We'll keep on top of this. Here's a car bombing in central Moscow. Russian media report a powerful explosion in central Moscow with eyewitnesses describing multiple blasts and two vehicles on fire, one allegedly targeted. Online sources named the victim as Alexei Komkov. He's the head of the FSB's Fifth Service, overseeing counterintelligence in CIS countries. So it looks like there was something here, and we're not 100% sure about this. The other one we're a lot more sure about. Russian military correspondents are reporting that just minutes ago in Crimea, operatives from the Ukrainian military intelligence killed the commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, Vice Admiral Ildar Akhmetov. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is the guy, and yeah, it's been verified in multiple places here. Vice Admiral of Russia's Black Sea Fleet was eliminated in Crimea, and so yeah, I mean they had to know that they were targets. Russia's confirming the Ukraine Special Services has eliminated the Vice Admiral and commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. Here's a translation of what it was saying. This is war in Crimea as a result of a vile strike by the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense. Vice Admiral and commander of the Black Sea Fleet and his name was killed. Details will be later. We must take revenge. We are waiting for a response from the decision-making centers. So that's where they are with that. So we're very sure about this one, not 100% about the first, but it looks like the first is also true. Okay, that's the first big story. Second big story, 30,000 North Korean troops may join Russian forces. This is according to CNN. This isn't me making stuff up. North Korea will send soldiers in the near future. Again, CNN is putting this out. It looks like that deterrence isn't really working. The escalation management that we had in the Biden administration, and then whatever we're doing in the Trump administration, which is far worse, right? In fact, let's talk about that. America's security first. U.S. freezes missile lifeline to Ukraine as Russia escalates the bombardment. They froze stuff that was even as far as Poland about to go to Ukraine. Like, that's just, okay. May 29th, Trump gives Russia a 2-week deadline. Remember all the 2-week deadlines? What are you going to do about, are you going to sanction Putin? Think about it in 2 weeks. Are you going to sanction Putin? 2 more weeks, I'll make a decision. 2 more weeks. And then the last one was May 29th. Now, in July 2nd, U.S. halts deliveries to Ukraine. What about what about sanctions to bring Moscow to the table? What all you're doing is potentially crippling Ukraine, which, I mean, if you're just trying to get it over with, I guess that's a strategy, but that's not going to lead to any kind of just circumstance where Russia's not going to be invigorated and want to do more. Jennifer Griffin confirmed this. Jennifer Griffin works for Fox News. She's a chief national security correspondent. She was the one that Hegseth was rebuking in that session, the press session, where she was saying, look, it looks like you didn't actually do all the damage that you said that you did. And he was rebuking her, a former colleague. Confirmed, according to well-placed U.S. military sources, the Pentagon has halted weapon systems needed by Ukraine at a crucial moment in its fight with Russia. The weapons, which were already on their way to Ukraine and in Poland, included missile interceptors and 155-millimeter ammunition shells. One official source said that there was some concern at the Pentagon about U.S. missile interceptor stockpiles running low. Okay, I get that. Those stockpiles may be running low, but like, you got to manage the process. Meanwhile, the Kremlin is cheering U.S. arms delays to Ukraine. Putin spokesperson Peskov claims that dwindling Western stockpiles bring peace closer. Well, I mean, an unjust peace where Russia wins and gets to get away with what they've done to Ukraine without any justice. Yeah. And Lavrov was also taking victory laps about things. And I saw this and it was just funny. So this is Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, saying this.
Too much attention to Mr. Lavrov. And then to Lavrov, I mean, he's foreign minister of Russia, I think, since the birth of Jesus Christ. And since then, anything useful came out of his mouth. So let's not pay too much attention to Mr. Lavrov.
So
And then to
that's just
Lavrov,
awesome, that that comment. Okay, Mike Pompeo talking. Ukraine has never asked America to send the 82nd Airborne. They asked for the weapons to defend their homeland and people from Russian attacks. Letting Russia win this war would be an unmitigated disaster for the American people and our security around the world. And we have to understand that that would be true, that it would be an unmitigated disaster if the Russians actually were to win this war and perhaps go on to invade a Baltic state. This could be very, very bad. Okay. Representative Brian Fitzpatrick says this. He's a Republican from Pennsylvania. Today, I called on the president to address my serious concern regarding the reports the United States is withholding critical defense material pledged to Ukraine. This comes as Russia launches the largest aerial assault since the war began, firing over 500 weapons at civilian targets in a single week. No, that was in a single day, over 500, but we'll forgive them for that. Ukrainian forces are not only safeguarding their homeland, they're holding the front line of freedom itself. There can be no half measures in the defense of liberty. We must, as we always have, stand for peace through strength. I have formally requested an emergency briefing from the White House and the Department of Defense to clarify these reports, review our nation's weapons and munition stockpiles, and ensure that the United States remains fully committed to providing Ukraine with the resources it urgently needs to defend its people and preserve the cause of freedom. Okay, so that's good that he's doing that, but a single United States representative isn't going to make a lot of headway. I mean, that's the reality. Republicans for Ukraine posted this. Republicans for Ukraine need to take action. Ukraine can't wait. So they're tweeting out to Representative Bacon, Fitzgerald, this is Fitzpatrick, this is who we just talked about. This guy here, Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson's the one that gave me the Ukraine flag, the lapel pin, and Representative Mike Lawler. They have the ability to help Ukraine, just don't vote for the big, beautiful bill. Like, that's Trump's priority right now, is ramming through all his agenda in one bill. No Ukraine aid, no vote. Okay, so this is not going to happen necessarily. I don't think that it will, but it's a good idea. Like, if you think about it, these four men could stymie the system. There are 220 Republicans in the House. There are 212 Democrats. So 220 minus the 4 would bring you to 216. 212 plus 4 would bring you to 216. That brings it to a tie right there. So if you had 5, you could overturn Trump's primary agenda if he didn't do this, but you'd have to work something out. Okay, so I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen, but they could do something. But where there's a will, right? Okay, what has Trump done for Russia in 2025? I wish I didn't have to show you this, but I think it's only fair to show you this. This is the guy that does Vantic Soup regularly. That's his channel. Lifted sanctions on what's he done for Russia? Lifted sanctions on arms dealers and Kremlin-linked banks. That just happened. Disbanded U.S. sanctions enforcement. Blocked Ukraine aid approved by Congress. Opposed the oil price cap at G7. What's he done for Ukraine? He's called Zelensky a dictator. I mean, there was actually a small arms deal, a very small arms deal, like 30 million or something along those lines. But I mean, really, it's been very lopsided. I wish I could tell you that it wasn't. Orban decided to try on the peacemaker's coat and commented on the Macron-Putin call. As you know, Macron called Putin the other day, and I don't know that much came of it. Finally, the war between Russia and Ukraine cannot be ended on the battlefield. The key to resolution is negotiation. We need diplomats, not generals, wrote the Hungarian prime minister. Okay. When you say that the war cannot be ended on the battlefield, you preclude the possibility of it when you say they can't do it. So let's not give them the arms that they need to be able to do it. And the idea of Putin, the diplomat, huh? Must be missing something. Okay, Kyiv Post. Trump envoy Keith Kellogg has denied claims made by Belarusian dictator Lukashenko. Now, Kellogg met with Lukashenko just a few days ago, who alleged that Kellogg promised to, quote, work on stopping the Ukrainian army from striking Russia. Well, Keith Kellogg replied to that. This quote is taken out of context. In my conversation with Lukashenko, we discussed a full and unconditional ceasefire. Any limitation on Kyiv's conduct was conditional on reciprocal action by Moscow. But that's not going to be the way that it's going to be presented, of course. At no point did I make comments related to Ukraine's prosecution of the war outside of a total ceasefire. So, okay, things can be, stretched or manipulated or taken out of context. Here's how it was reported in RT. RT is Russia Today. Russian ally names the first step toward Ukraine ceasefire. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko says the U.S. could order Zelensky to suspend strikes if it truly seeks to end the conflict. That's how it's being put out in Russian state media. The U.S. could pressure Ukraine into halting long-range strikes against Russian territory as a first step toward ceasefire. The Belarusian leader said that he shared his views with Kellogg on how the Ukraine conflict could be resolved, which he said were based on conversations with Russian President Vladimir Putin. I bet they were. According to Lukashenko, Putin wants to end an end to Ukrainian drones and Western-supplied cruise missiles being launched at Russian cities. I bet he does. Let them tell their client, Vladimir Zelensky, to stop strikes against Russia. Then we could agree, Lukashenko stressed, characterizing Moscow's stance. That's the position I relayed to the American, and I asked him, is there something wrong with it? He said, well, we're working in that direction. You do that, it would be good for the first step towards stopping this fratricidal war. It's not fratricide. This is not a brotherly conflict. I'm pretty sure the Ukrainians don't think that way. He added, but I don't believe they want to end this war. Belarus remains a key ally of Russia and a target of Western sanctions, which Lukashenko describes as a form of economic warfare aimed at a sovereign nation resisting long-standing external pressure. How about that? So that's the way it's painted in RT. All right, my friends, last thing I want to show you before we're done is this. This is our latest fundraising campaign. We've been working behind the scenes to get this up and rolling, and right now, so we're raising money for 5 vampire drones for the 100th Mechanized Brigade. Okay, why a vampire drone? Well, it can get lots of material to the front line and back safely so that humans on the front line in Ukraine don't have to go back and forth between the front line and the rear and be in harm's way of other drones. And so as of this morning, we had 25,000. It's about 10 o'clock this morning, and it's 4 o'clock now in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. We got 25,000 raised this morning and 25,000 euro. We're now up to 34,000 euro. If you wish to donate, please use the link below. I'll put it in the description. I wiped out all mine because I don't want money to flow through me. I want it to flow right to the link for the nonprofit organization. I'm actually refunding people. A couple people try to PayPal me. I don't want to be part of that. That's not I don't want them PayPal to take the cut. I don't want to be seen as in any way, taking your money for something for that. Right. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So 34,000 out of 78,000 is our total. We just started yesterday. It's 4 o'clock. We were just doing a 3 to 4 o'clock first kickoff video about that yesterday. If you want to see that, go back to my last live with Greg Terry. It's Greg Terry and I are working on this. You can be part of this. I mean, I understand that what governments do, but what we do, we can actually be helpful. Let me show you where they are again. They're in Toretsk. This is Toretsk. Let me zoom in a little bit. Ukraine is still trying to hold Toretsk. If they can hold Toretsk, and let's zoom back out, Konstantinivka can hold. And this highway here is really important where Konstantinivka is a lifeline. And that's just above where Pokrovsk is over here. All right. That's where these 5 vampire drones are going to be going to protect the lives of the soldiers on the front by being able to ship them stuff to the front without them having to travel to and fro. All right, that's all that I have for you today. Last little bit, I'm going to leave you with something fun. Darth Putin, on this day in 2023, you were informed Ukrainian forces were on the verge of collapse and that it was all over. Well, here's Douglas McGregor saying, here's what the media will not tell you. July 2nd, 2023. Ukrainian forces are on the verge of collapse and they're totally demoralized. They've all been killed. It's over. Well, A year later, they're still fighting. They're still holding, despite all the difficulties. They're still holding. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for the time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.